Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chatter. Today, I am delighted to be joined by John Waldron, otherwise known as Irish Bitcoin Guy. John, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, man. Yeah, Irish Bitcoin man. We'll go with that. The M is important for reasons.
Uh, yeah, I mean it's an interesting moment to be talking, to say the least. So as we currently speak, the price of GameStop is hovering at $29.79, having ticked up past 30 earlier today and then sort of corrected itself a little bit. And the price of Bitcoin is sitting at $110,822. And it I don't even know where to start with this. There's so many things that we could talk about that have been discussed and predicted. We could talk about the Bank of Japan. We could, the DFE was clearly saying something was going to happen with the Bank of Japan, I think. Hence there was the meme with the cat trying to say something with all the Japanese dudes around him. I mean, so I tell you what, I think the best thing to do is to go back and ask you about when the first time that you had sort of thought that GameStop might begin to use some of the cash on hand or use some of the momentum or even just think about purchasing Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, I guess like for me, this moment, you mentioned about of GameStop right now, the price of Bitcoin and their fates are obviously very much intertwined just now. But for me, it's like a very much a moment of everything coming full circle because we're part of the GAV and Bitcoin chat there on Twitter where everyone's sharing information around GameStop and Bitcoin and stuff. But for me, like I say, GameStop was my first love and Bitcoin was my true love. So I don't know. I was just this whole saga has woken up to so many different things. I'm not the same person as I was back in 2021. Well, this sneeze happened, so to speak, and and they shut off the buy button. I had friends text me who were like playing markets and stuff, but I was just sitting there with my cash in savings account, just kind of thinking, oh, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You just rely on the banks, and it never occurred to me to like start investing and stuff. And then there's this whole thing that kind of blows up the internet, and you probably very much remember, Occupy Wall Street and stuff in 2008. And then suddenly there's this movement out there. I'd been on Reddit but I'd never been on Wall Street Bets, and I realized that, I could have been involved in something that was like the right way to do Occupy Wall Street and make myself fabulously wealthy this whole time. How could I have missed out on all that? So I got into GameStop then and started buying shares of as much as I could in the very early aftermath of that. um, eToro and things that were still allowing access from UK brokers at the time. And I think in the kind of, between January and February when things were kind of dying down, there was a low, went way back down to like a really low amount. I can't even quite remember right now. That's when I realized like I just woke up, like I should be paying attention to financial markets in in general. And Elon Musk starts buying Bitcoin. There's a big thing, Tesla starts putting Bitcoin in the balance sheet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard about this Bitcoin thing for years. Why the hell have I never looked into it? Elon Musk is a successful guy, right? He runs all these companies. I should be following that as well. And then of course, COVID was very much still around, lockdowns and things like that. Not much to do but sit on YouTube and watch Max Kaiser and Michael Saylor and all the podcasts up there. And then, that's when it all kicked. Um, just how good Bitcoin was. So for me, like for a long time, GameStop and Bitcoin were very much in parallel from that early part of 2021, or at least my journey into understanding. And I would say it was like that for a number of years. But then I remember coming across the kind of moment when they started to really kind of come together for me in my head and how they could really fuse, uh, kind of Dragon Ball Z style, I guess, would be Peruvian Bull. He's a pal and contact of mine on Twitter. He was writing some great stuff on on Reddit, the dollar endgame pieces. And his tweets were like kind of, it just occurred to me like here a guy as well who's also independently, he's way more intelligent and financially smart than I would have been, like, real kind of formal education in this space, I would say. And he's writing out this fabulous stuff about, and he's independently come to the conclusion that GameStop and Bitcoin are the two best things you could own if you're going to own any kind of financial instruments. Um, that's the stuff to own. And I was like, holy shit, like, maybe I'm not a big EG after all. There's people out there who are coming to the same thing. And then from there, we're on a few spaces, and people like Ben Werman were on it as well, and Mozart. And that's where we kind of got talking. We were there, like, it was very much GME space, but then like a few of us kind of put up questions to each other, just like, well, there's this Michael Saylor guy who's buying Bitcoin out there. He seems to be doing quite well with MicroStrategy. Is it really out there for GameStop to, do the same, kind of follow that? So I would say, that was kind of like gelling around for a while in 2022. And, I've not done like a full retrospective, just going off the top of my head here, but I would say it would be a bit of the lead up in mid 2023, coming up to 2024 is when we kind of were seriously thinking of doing things around this. And I ended up going to the Bitcoin conference last year, and
Which
well, I've
one?
been chatting
The one in Prague.
the one in Nashville.
Okay, cool.
So made the trek over there, and I'd been chatting Prugy, Bull, and Ben and Nick for a while before that, and we talked about like maybe there's something we could be doing to try and get GameStop to start thinking about Bitcoin because you know yourself just how quiet or rather keeping the cards close to the chest that Ryan Cohen et al. Have been. And I would say very much laws of power kind of thing, that Robert Greene stuff. Like, and you can understand a bit. It's very frustrating, but then it leaves the short question and everything, right? So, um, and that's when it comes down to fate. But, at the same time, like, if Ryan Cohen himself is sort of an activist investor, right? And you don't want to be sitting on your hands either. But at the same time, you're just a dude on the internet. So, Nick and I or rather Mozart and I, we kind of were most enthused to do something. So we kind of got chatting and we decided to put our brains together and come up with a letter to the board sort of thing. And we got one ready and kind of co-authored it really, just kind of edited it and over between the two of us. He's over in the States. He sent off the letter physically as well and the emails. And we never got a concrete reply back to that. That would have been just before the Bitcoin conference in 2024, probably July, June-ish. We did that. Or we promoted it a fair bit online, but I would say like our accounts were fairly small or whatever. But we got like a few decent responses from people as well. Nick would or Mozart would know more about like who was kind of really on board with us at the time. Because it was hard to kind of know who was also in the same space beyond our little group, at least back then. Um, it was still like I don't even want to say nascent. I mean, I guess Michael Saylor was kind of laying down the foundations for everything that's going on right now. Because right now it's like a Bitcoin Treasury company comes out of the woodwork every every day or so. So yeah, let me see. And then time was going on. 2024 didn't really know what was going on. We could see Bitcoin, I think, doing a lot of moves. And Mozart and I realized like that there was a shareholder proposal. Like if you wanted to do a shareholder proposal to try and move the needle in any way, it had to be done by the end of the year. We had made plans to kind of do something for a while. Like it's in the way you're there. I was there, in between jobs and things, kind of sort myself out. So, and then kind of New Year's Eve came along. I was like, back, we should do something. Um, and Nick was still keen, so he taken care of the kind of research. That was like the big part. He kind of knew exactly what we needed to do, and he put in the legwork there because I really did not have a clue, and I was really glad that Nick was willing to do it. So I took the shareholder proposal letter, rejigged it, edited it with Nick, to make it more like, he had looked up some of the other shareholder reform proposals from the likes of Microsoft and things at the time, I think, if I recall correctly. So we co-opted that, and then I kind of basically handled the emails, because I had the stocks in my account. You have I forwarded on the kind of chain. I forwarded on another chain as well, just from afterwards, but we'll get to that in a bit later. So yeah, shareholder proposal, did that, emailed them, and then no response for a little while. Just thought, oh well, they're just not bothered with us. We're a small fry. We're Ryan Cohen's there rejigging the entire financial market, taking on the short sellers of from hell. And but then I got a FedEx parcel to Ballymena of all places. Yeah,
That's gotta be quite a moment. Like,
yeah. I mean, you just there kind of because you're watching all this play out on Twitter and stuff, and you forget like you're just you're a small cog in the kind of narrative and such. But yeah, it was just a cool moment as well. I got a FedEx thing, and it's basically saying, "Oh, you got kind of done this, that, like these certain check gifts hadn't been met, kind of thing." I can't quite remember what it was now. I think it was shareholder threshold, shareholder number of shares threshold they were citing. So I sent another email, said to them, like, please just email me. There's no need to be doing FedExes from, Austin Grapevine or wherever it was. And yeah, so we kind of you can see from the email chain yourself there a bit back and forth. They were saying this shareholder, this thing wasn't done, that wasn't done, and then like personally, like I kept feeling like every time I got an email, I was getting knocked back, and I was like, a little bit deflated. I was like, oh, like, maybe we don't know what we're doing here. Like maybe we should just kind of leave this go. But then you notice that they hadn't taken like certain things to account. And I don't know the ins and outs of the organization, but I'm pretty sure like they kind of some of the people in that email chain maybe not direct GameStop employees. I'm not too sure. But basically, I was like, now hold on a second here. If I'm going to go down, if this is not going to happen. At least I'm going to throw in all the proper, dot all the I's and cross all the T's and make sure that we did it all. So I went back to as much records as I had of my own shares and pointed out that they weren't keeping the what you call it, the reverse, the stock split. They hadn't counted on that in terms of the number of shares for how many years it was. I think 2+ years.
okay.
So eventually, that was interesting. I think they were just really trying to get me to kind of go away quietly.
I
And
I I would wonder how many, because I've reached out to the company.
yeah,
Maybe I'm not reaching out to the right place, but I've reached out to them like a couple of days ago just to be like, so I'm basically finishing my book. I've been writing it for 4 years. Would anyone from the company, hopefully Ryan Cohen, uh, like to comment on anything? Like, would they like to see the manuscript? Like, because ultimately the book is about three things. It's about Ryan Cohen's turnaround of the company. It's about Roaring Kitty's journey from 53K to a billion, and it's just still mind blowing to me. And and it's about all of the apes, the people who have been watching this for 4.5 years, or longer in some other cases. So uh, I kind of hope to be able to get some sort of comment from the company to put in it. But I've also been trying to get in touch with Joe Fonicello from GME or DD into GME .com, but he hasn't posted a thing for like
is
two.
he the guy? He's the guy who had the interview with
Yeah, he's the guy
Ryan.
that did the interview Ryko, but that's the last thing he's posted on that website. So I don't know if he just decided that that was enough. Was that the pinnacle of his like DD? Um,
I'm pretty sure, mate, that I think someone had told me that he was brought in to work with GameStop or something. Is that right? Because a few weeks or a few months ago, when GameStop announced that they were doing a Bitcoin thing, or like just in the lead up to that final announcement, there was something to do with that guy and something GameStop done. Dilly would know more, in the group because he pointed it out. But you probably would have to go trawling through that Bitcoin G&E chat.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can dig back to this.
I mean, yeah, but that shouldn't be too hard to find information on though if we're just searching a Twitter chat. Um, oh, hang on, sorry, you're so right. Joe Fonicello currently works for GameStop as head of social media, beginning his
Yes.
role in July 2024, as per his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
Ooh. So actually, realistically, anytime GameStop tweets, it might be that guy. Like, which is wild. Yeah, I'm gonna add him on
And
LinkedIn and see if he replies.
you saw today, of course, that they pointed out as well on a tweet that GameStop followed how funny.
Yeah.
That's
And the thing
that
that
for
I
me
wanted
is
to ask is who is helping.
oh really?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you. Hang on. Hal Finney, American software developer, died in 2014. He was an early Bitcoin contributor, first transaction from the currency's creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. Ah, okay. Wait. Why does Ryan Cohen follow him if he's not been alive for 11 years? Uh,
Well, I think it's GameStop follow him as opposed to Ryan Cohen's account, but it's still like a big kind of tick box and nod for me. Like I mean, how funny is like loads of people basically say he's Satoshi or I thought he was Satoshi
yeah.
because the guy he was the first guy to receive a transaction. I think he had a tweet like running Bitcoin. And that was like a big part of Bitcoin history there, like the first person to receive. So for me, GameStop following him is a huge nod that the Bitcoin is secured. At least that's my take on it. Obviously, not financial advice and all that crap, but for me, that's confirmation bias. I don't even know if it's confirmation bias, but confirmation.
Yeah, because GameStop, like Ryan Cohen follows two people, GameStop and Bitcoin Magazine. GameStop follows 24 people. That includes Greg, um, Joe Fonicello, Michael P. Green, no idea who that is, some sort of podcaster, Larry Chang, Hal Finn, and then this guy, Daniel W. Who's this? Um,
Never heard.
it looks like, I mean, a GME meme posting account, basically. That's who their official Twitter follows. This is the shit I love. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, the thing is, like, not only like, sometimes you pinch yourself and you think, am I completely crazy thinking, oh, on this stock is going to make me fabulously wealthy? But like, at the same time, like, it's such fun. Like, the memes and the crack, and what better way to kind of become wealthy? But you know, following a company that has supported, our generation, I guess, in games for years, and kick the financial system on the shins on the way out, and then get to do all the debates you made along the way. But it's too and then obviously adopting Bitcoin. I could talk all day about that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we can get on to like Bitcoin, like more Bitcoin specific stuff in a minute. I just want to stick with GameStop itself for a minute. Like the one of the things I've been trying to work out while I've been putting together the final draft of this book is what do you think the craziest moment of the entire saga has been? Like what is the like the what? Like the you, like what moment do you think deserves that title?
That's the tough one because there's been so many. And then the moments that you've probably forgotten as well, that when someone brings it up, you're like, Jesus Christ, yeah, that was fucking big. I mean, I still find it very hard to get over. I mean, it's the one reason I'm really like still in it when I put everything back. Like obviously, buying Bitcoin, like I just say, Genie is my first love, but Bitcoin is my true love. And that's the reason, like, if Ryan Cohen came out now, so now we're not buying Bitcoin, we're buying Ethereum, I'd be like, no, I'm out. Because that's, fuck all the not shitcoin basically. But anyway, apart from that, I go back to January 2021. They turned off the Bible. Like, who do that was the moment in the Matrix when the glitch and the deja vu, like when they change something to cheat, like that we're supposed to be in the free market. That was the moment when it's just like, no, it's one rule for us and not another rule for everybody else. And I was just like, no, no, mate, you can't do that. Like whatever, I was going to be. I remember sharing a meme once. I don't know if you've ever watched the show Seinfeld. Love Seinfeld. There's a moment where Seinfeld like returns his jacket, and they're asking, "Oh, why you return a jacket?" And he says, "For spite. I don't care for the salesman who served it to me." Because thankfully, that was my motivation to begin with. It was like, fuck these guys anyway. Like, there's there's working people here who actually have a chance to make money for the first time in their lives, probably, and you're there doing that. No. So that for me is still the most outrageous moment, but. Yeah, you kind of put me on the spot for the other moments. I mean, there's so many to do with Rory Kitty himself, right? Just like the memes and things like that. I think just the summer of 2024, this time last year, May, when all those things were coming out, I think, oh, maybe we could kick off there, and just the precision and the calculation behind it. What really comes to mind is that film Law Abiding Citizen, except your man is he's like doing that, but with the financial markets.
Oh man, that's so real. He had 3 years to plan it, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
And they're all like headless chickens basically, and all the memes like the beat of the drum or whatever, and Wolverine comes out, and I mean, it's just so many to choose from. But I
yeah,
I would say those are what stand out.
yeah. Roaring Kitty, the motion picture, I believe it was dubbed. Uh, at least that's what I
Yeah,
saw. The Yeah, that was the thing. I also DM'd him on Twitter hoping for a response, and shockingly didn't get a reply. But
yeah,
I want to know how he accumulated 5 million shares.
yeah,
I want
yeah,
to I want to know so badly how this guy, what did he figure out that allowed him to accumulate, was he just doing the same sort of stuff he was doing before, like rolling over calls and like getting lucky on buying call options? Was he selling covered calls? Was he has he figured out like one of the cycles that's accurate, like the T plus 35 thing, or like expiring swaps, or like I want to know what he knows to and like not even to emulate it, just to be like, wow, just to sit back and admire the brilliance, because it, it's he was just some streamer. He was just some dude. He was unemployed for a number of years. He was in and out of jobs, like he was working at startups, and then like getting like they were falling apart. He was struggling to get by for years, and then he got like a job as a financial analyst. He got I can't remember what the company is right off the top of my head, but like um he got yeah he started working like writing financial education packages. Then COVID comes around. He starts streaming about just financy things, technical analysis, like talking about GameStop and his initial thesis for it. And there's like 100 and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of tens of thousands of fucking idiots on YouTube doing that. How did this guy figure out, like, not only like okay, maybe he got lucky when he looked at the whole fundamentals of the company, and he went, right, this is genuinely really undervalued, because that's all that it was at that point. There was no 140% short interest. There was no like hedges. There was no like he just thought, this is undervalued. I'm going to buy some of it. And instead of like diversifying like a normal person would, he decided, I'm going to go all in on this one thing. And then from there, he turned the 53K into, I think it was 30 something million right before he disappeared. And then he comes back and the portfolio is worth 10 times that. Like like, I think he might be a genius, but I want to
oh yeah,
know. I want to know. what he figured out. That's my biggest question, and I would fucking love if you're watching this, Keith. DM me.
Please let me know your secrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I promise
You
I'll only put them in the book. I won't even, I won't tweet them. Like,
won't you won't use them for your own personal gain.
but I mean, it's
No,
just, yeah. Like I said, I don't even think that anyone could go back and replicate it. But I would love to know what the moves were between 30 and 300 million. You know?
yeah. I mean, 2021 happened. There was a little bit, a lot of COVID about it, like January and stuff. I think it was like not around the time the January 7th stuff was going on. The Trump riot at the Capitol. So it was, wild distraction around then. But like everything I know now, I would be kind of just like just the timing of things like that is crazy. But I think PFE was in from what 2019, so before COVID.
I
Um,
have a live update. Roaring Kitty is currently active on X. No more bio, no more pinned posts.
uh-oh, what? That's crazy.
As we're
No bio.
as I'm just talking about it. Yeah, he's deleted the bio. He's unpinned his post. Hang on,
This
let's.
is this is crazy.
He has not read my DM. Unfortunately, that's not been the trigger. Uh,
He's too busy. He's too busy updating his bio, mate. That's right.
oh, maybe he is updating his bio. I'm gonna keep it up and refresh it in a few minutes to see if something new comes up.
Oh wow. I honestly sometimes I think when you chat this stuff, so that thing where you feel like you want to text a mate or you're thinking about a mate and they text you, and you kind of have to feel like there was something like the universe kind of connecting minds for a moment. Honestly, it just felt like that for a moment. But sure, I think after everything with GameStop, you kind of there are no coincidences, right? But I would just say, no, DFE was in there from 2019 because an easy thing would be just to say, oh, 2021 was just, he got lucky. And sure, there was only people on Wall Street that's kind of saying, oh, what a big fool you are. And he was replying to them, like, why? Like, what have I said that's like that wild? And they, just no grace these people showed. And of course, the FA is just oozes class, right? And the class just comes out on the memes. So the man is a hero, like, just for, just kind of personally as well. And I think there's something to be said, though, he just stayed too true to his convictions as well. And he's just kind of being himself, really. And that comes through on his streams, and the memes, like his personality, his flair, and honestly, just personally as well. I mean, and, there's a lot of heroes in this saga, and I would put Ryan Cohen himself and Michael Saylor even as the, well, I don't want to say idols because, there's a moment where you can never meet your heroes, but at the same time, from what they've shown and the kind of things they did, I think it's a big thing is just about being authentic, right? And kind of finding your own deep value. And these guys are like leading the way for that, right? Follow your convictions and be yourself along the way. So, I mean, that side of it has been like just amazing. Like, and I've tried to kind of show, there's parts of me that kick myself all the time. There's a fella in our Bitcoin G&E chat, and he sold some GameStop there, put it into MetaPlanet, made a bunch of money out of it, and then bought back the shares he initially sold in GameStop, and that's just like an amazing trade. I'm here paddling because I'm so deeply like balls deep in this. I don't want to kind of miss out even just for a moment. But like you see people making these trades, and there's part of you that wants to kind of kick yourself like, oh, I could have done that. I'm just following Roaring Kitty and Ryan Cohen. Like, I mean, for me personally, I'm glad that I felt like, I'll probably get back to talk about the shareholder proposal as well. But uh, and it's a small note, the grand scheme of things. I think Ryan Cohen was looking at Bitcoin way before that. But you feel like you were involved, just having done this. Like you feel like, you know, um, even the universe with the line in the stars, and just to kind of feel like you're involved has been great. But then the thing is, we're all involved just by hodling, just by following and then refusing to sell until we get what the value of GameStop really is, and should have been for a long time. Probably even before Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's just kind of revealing the matrix that's been kind of put up around our eyes ever since probably 1971, if not even before that.
Yeah, I mean the Bitcoin dreamers have had quite a year. You've got,
Yes.
the your T-shirt, obviously that happened. I mean, not day one, but that happened. Free Ross
Yeah.
got for
It wasn't day one.
it wasn't day one, but I mean, honestly, day one, yeah, that I felt like that was more a hyperbolic off day one. Do you know what I mean? I feel like all administrations say that. It's like within the first 100 days. It's nice to see someone following through with something that they said they would do, which makes a
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it makes a change from our current government in the UK.
Oh Jesus, like you could talk about that all day. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
stick on topic.
let's not. That's a depressing topic. Let's not go there. But yeah, so you get that now, and now then you got right, Michael Saylor continuing to purchase more. You've had the unbelievable fact that a US state has now officially approved. I think it was New Hampshire approved their strategic reserve, and then there's 9 more states. I think it's either 8 or 9 more states who are in the process of doing something similar. There's rumors that the Saudis have started to buy a lot of Bitcoin. There is Bitcoin treasury companies appearing daily, as you mentioned, and it looks like this game theory, you know,
Mm.
nation state acquisition is rapidly coming to fruition. Like these things that I don't know, I must have had 20, 30 people on this podcast over the years talking about Bitcoin and crypto and stuff. You know, and they all said roughly the same thing. And this is what they were basically, they, game theory that they believed that this would eventually happen. And I could be like, well, in theory that sounds nice, but the world is often different to that. I mean, look at the buy button. If people
Yeah.
can do that, like, and device research on the buy button stuff is real interesting.
Mm.
I feel like the ringing bells, and his trade 385 stuff is really revealed a lot of stuff to me about who made the decisions, and it seems like all of the brokers were covering their fucking asses. I don't think it came from, as much as people would love this to be the case, I don't think it came from Kenny phoning them up. And I'm sure, that was maybe in their head a little bit or something, but I think it was them all not being sufficiently capitalized to deal with the massive volatility. And then even when they waived the excess capital premium charges, they were all still going, well, if it gets out of hand, we're still screwed. So I think they all independently just were like, you know what? Let's just play it safe. Let's not let them purchase it. And it really, I think that's the most revealing part, is that the system does not work if, when it becomes volatile, people are A, able to do that, and B, it's totally legal, and C, that doesn't break the system, because the system is broken. And I think
Mm.
that's what it reveals. But yeah, so I mean, how as a Bitcoiner, how do you feel this year's going? What do you see coming for the rest of it?
It's going fantastic so far. My real kind of just personal reaction just now is probably, this is probably the overthinking stuff coming in it, but it's more like an Oscar shit at the moment. Just like I could have done more, I could have got more Bitcoin, but I've always felt that about GameStop and stuff as well.
That's
But
not too late.
no,
It's still at $29.
yeah, sadly, I've no ammunition that I'm firmly illiquid, but the faith is there. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, it's playing out before our eyes. Like it's weird, like the kind of level of Zen. It's really just kind of, it must have been crazy. You think the level of discipline that Cohen and all had to have. Just have these plans in the works, and there's been basically no leaks. I mean, there was the odd kind of sub posts on Reddit and things that kind of made like, oh, maybe what if Ryan Cohen is doing a big merger? What if the NFT, and the NFT marketplace tries to, make games, back games with NFTs and stuff? And at one point, I was very open-minded about that, but I'm firmly in the camp of unless there's a fuck ton Bitcoin reactor installed, nothing else matters. But Anyway, yeah, Bitcoin go very well, mate. Like it's inevitable. It's very much like the Thanos, I am inevitable and the finger snap. It's all playing out. And I think the reason is like, um, you know, not to sound too kind of what's the word, new agey kind of stuff, but there is something to Bitcoin in terms of like the idea of authenticity, because it's based on math, right? Like there is a kind of spiritual element, and just like if you're sitting on enough Bitcoin and your time is your own, and no one can fuck with the work that you've done, like in terms of the energy you put into it, get paid. Whereas like most of us who are off Bitcoin are not on Bitcoin. We're sitting with money in a bank, which and most people don't even research money properly, or like it just haven't had cost to it, but like the bank can switch off your funds for whatever reason, and you hear scare stories and stuff, and you know that certain people are fear mongering and stuff. But at the end of the day, like in this world, you only have yourself to look after you really. And for a long time, I would have been left wing. Like I would have been a big Jeremy Corbyn fan back in the day. Like I still admire the man greatly in terms of complete value though, right? But I just would disagree with like his policies to get there sort of thing.
I still think
You know, like,
I still don't believe he could have been worse than whatever we've had since 2017. Like
oh
I look at everyone, they all thought. I have a friend who was not a fan of him, and I was like, you know what, I like him because he's not in the club. He's
yes,
clearly not in the club, and they clearly hate him for not being in the club. And
yes.
I just feel like he could. Whatever has happened, like I can't imagine him of doing a worse job than the last 8 years of governments that we've.
No, I agree to that in terms of like, yes, that aspect of him being outside the club. He was a man of principle and values and stuff, and you probably say he's probably cutting out the milk despite his face a few times, and maybe not playing it smart. He's probably closer to maybe Game of Thrones Sean Bean character. Ends up you know just like doing the right thing and stuff, but in the end, he gets killed. Uh, I love Jericho. My dream was for Jeremy Corbyn to understand Bitcoin, because so much like on the people say, oh, that's far right. Well, I say people, I mean, oh, that's far left. And it's just labels people give it rather than saying like ordinary working people, like, they have much more in common with each other, either side of the spectrum, when it's really the kind of the liberal elites who are kind of going, oh no, we know best. And they just kind of, shun you down, kind of like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's racist. Oh, that's, never gonna work. Well, if we kind of ground ourselves in helping each other out and staying true to ourselves, we can see where it goes. And for me, Bitcoin is the ultimate tool to do that, because basically Bitcoin removes the establishment's ability to put their finger under the scale when it comes to your to move the scale to kind of make you think that your value is as good as what it, and that's what's so powerful. Like, I mean, just even, if you think about relationships with other people and stuff, and people, just, you come across narcissists and wounded people out there, and they kind of make you doubt yourself. It's just this idea of like, we'll just stay true to ourselves and know our own power. We can get far in life, and Bitcoin is like just the ultimate tool for that, and that's sort of why I fell in love with it in the end.
Hmm. The You talk about a lot of stuff there that I think it's just reminded me. I'm reading this amazing book, Techno Feudalism. Hang on, let's turn it the right way for the camera.
Oh, yeah, and it's our problems.
Top notch, absolutely top notch. He does an unbelievable job of. I see a lot of people who go around on Twitter or on social media generally, or in the world, and they're just like they happily tweet from their iPhone like capitalism is the problem, and I just want to slap them. Just
Yeah.
you know, because capitalism is, in my head at least, is nothing more than the ability for people to just like make stuff and sell it. You know, that's it. And in a free market, hopefully. Um, the thing that we currently have is so far removed from that, like from either a free market or the ability to openly just easily, make stuff and sell it, that I couldn't even I didn't even have a word for it, right? Until I got this book. And now I'm it's fantastic. And he talks about how the 2008 crash basically destroyed capitalism entirely. So he talks about having the global minotaur from the 70s through to 2007, where the US economy was basically this constantly ever devouring dollar creating machine. And then we got to about 2007, and profit no longer became the model through which the economy ran. The economy ran on the money printer. That's how, and that's how he calls it cloud capital subsumed the vast majority of all of the industries in the world, was by having enough free, basically free money, that they could accumulate everything, put everyone else out of business, and then just exist as the monopolist. And yeah, I know there's a lot of people who will maybe not agree with everything he says, but I find it to be the most explanatory piece of like writing that I have yet come across, that describes accurately how we ended up in the position we are now, where it feels like everyone is just getting poorer, and the economy is stagnant and falling to pieces. And he articulates exactly how we got there, and it's yeah, fantastic. Um,
I mean, everything you said there, from what, putting Yanis's position across, that seems like, a Bitcoiner said it in many ways.
yeah,
Like, it seems like he should be a Bitcoiner. And I've not kept up with what he's lately said, but I seem to recall that he kind of dismissed Bitcoin, which I just think I probably think that's probably maybe a nature of ego or whatever. But I was a big admirer of Yanis for a long time, especially during the kind of Greek sovereign debt crisis. I mean, the man was finance minister and stuff. And I remember like when Syriza decided not to do that, they would take the EU's bailout. Basically, it sounded like the man, what was his name, Cyprus, he got browbeaten basically by the EU. You will be forced to do this. And when that's where your kind of confessions of an economic hitman kind of stuff that Max Kaiser talks about comes into play. But yeah, Yana said, fuck that, I'm away on my motorcycle, and I thought fair play, like he's not gonna sell out. But yeah, I mean, it seems like that Bitcoin is the only possible solution to what he's described, and and you look at figures like Ray Dalio and stuff, he's a big hedge fund guy, and he had some, while I was really gelling for Bitcoin for me, he had some videos going on about the changing world order, and you realize like how every 100 years, the global reserve currency changes, will be becomes like the new power and things like that. And then was Great Britain, then it became America and things like that. What seems to be happening now is like there's really a case for no, I mean without Bitcoin, you'd say China would be the people coming along, but they don't seem particularly well set up to do that. I would say just. You hear about all the problems they have with their property and things like that. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert about all that kind of stuff, but just as a Bitcoiner, it seems like Bitcoin is an opportunity now to make a kind of truly neutral world reserve asset. And then, the global power structure, we've never seen a world with that really.
mm,
Um, well, I mean, I'm not, maybe I can't make a blanket statement like that, but I'd say generally in history, there probably hasn't been. That's what's really interesting now. But of course, the game theory is still there to be played out, and America's probably is the best position to take advantage of it. And I don't know, you probably, having grown up in Ireland and stuff, and over here, Europeans wouldn't have had a great view of Americans for a long time. We grew up with the Iraq War and George Bush,
mm,
and America, it kind of comes off as kind of, we're not, I don't want to say narcissistic, but kind of chauvinistic or whatever. But then, what having been to America a few times and talking to Bitcoin and stuff, you kind of realize like there's a lot going for it, man. There's a lot going for self affirmation and seeing the best of yourselves and celebrating yourself. So that I think it just depends on your mindset and stuff. So I would definitely not dismiss that. And America's achieved so much, and obviously there's probably dark paths in there as well. But like, what country doesn't have that other than us in Ireland, where we had no colonial history? But that's another that's another thing. But yeah, I would say America's best position with Bitcoin right now, and it's really a case of you should be, you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve, right? And it comes back to things like that film Margin Call, where Jeremy Irons say you can be first, you can be smarter, or you can cheat.
Mm.
And hopefully Ryan Cohen is kind of both being smarter and being first. But Michael Saylor's that the way, and then on the nation state level, they can be first. So yeah, I'm very happy with Bitcoiner. I just worry I haven't got enough.
Yeah, I mean, I worry the same about GameStop. My plan used to be GameStop squeeze and then everything to Bitcoin. But now it
Yes.
seems like I'm like, which one should like, because I have a couple of other bits, but most of my money that I have invested is either in GameStop or Bitcoin, right? Because a while back I had some shit coins, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, these are all just fiat money in digital form. I don't want that. The whole reason that I would decide to purchase Bitcoin is because I don't believe that the fiat system will continue that much longer. And I just don't think that, money should be endlessly replicable, or not even money,
Yes.
currency shouldn't be endlessly replicable. Um, so I'm not sure which one should be more heavily weighted in my portfolio, but I think it's about 50-50 at the minute, although Bitcoin might be winning on its current run in terms
Mm.
in my portfolio. But
But I think any kind of um, that sounds like a decent. That I just say just get some. Like, I mean, everything that will come out on the wash. Like as I said, like when Peruvian Bull was like, GameStop, Bitcoin are the best things. I think if you've got like a decent, few shares and Satoshis,
mm,
stack of Satoshis, you'll be doing well. Like for me personally, I've kind of, I have to say, like, as much as I feel like I've seen all this coming, I am sort of white knuckling it to a certain extent. Like I put like maybe over a third of my money into GameStop, another third into MicroStrategy or Bitcoin properties in general, and then another third in Bitcoin itself. But like right now, with things playing out the way they are, Bitcoin seems to be going to the moon. I'm there thinking, but because right now I'm in between work, I'm going through job applications. I'm thinking, why not just and hopefully Mo acid time me so that is not so much an issue anymore. But in terms of day-to-day living,
yeah,
but
that would be nice.
there's so many Bitcoin lending platforms out there, and I would, in my heart of hearts, I would be a guy, never sell your Bitcoin, never, never, never put your Bitcoin out there. It's just right now where I'm at. Considering I have enough GameStop and MicroStrategy and Parksy, I'm like, fuck it, if I put my Bitcoin in a platform and get the equity out of it, so to speak, and put that into proxies, like it's the flywheel, right? That Michael Saylor talks about, and I'm hopefully going to buy some of his STRK and STRF products, but I have to say I still have to research them, but like and properly. But it's hard to get in the UK with our brokers. At least I have to go through IKBR to do it. But that's my kind of plan I'm mulling over at the moment. But we're fast running out of time. I mean, if Lauren Kitty's there making his moves, he's finally merging. That video he had of him, like, the Fight Club merging into two, and that's what seems to be happening. Like, his deep value, Lauren Kitty, maybe even Greg. Like, it's just, it's hard to keep up. We've been waiting for years, and now it's actually playing out. It's a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah, yeah. And just to put a cap on what we were saying about Yanis um, Varoufakis. He described Bitcoin at one point as the perfect bubble, likening it to the Dutch tulip mania. He has found that he criticizes that the design inherently favors early adopters, creating a crypto aristocracy. He has apparently he likes blockchain. He's a fan of the blockchain technology, and I assume that's probably due to transparency reasons. Um,
Yeah.
and he has advocated for a central bank digital currency. Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Ah, anyone who's listening to
yeah.
this, anyone who's listening to this episode right now and thinks that's the worst idea in the world, go either read the book Smart Money by Brunello Rosa and some other guy whose name escapes me at this exact moment, or listen to my interview with him. he changed what I think about central bank digital currencies a little bit because
Right.
so here's his argument anyway. And he used to work for the Bank of England, and he's doing a lot of lectures, basically trying to get central banks to adopt some sort of digital money policy. He says that there's basically three ways forward. Right now, China have spent the last 10 years as part of the Belt and Road Initiative building out their, like, he describes them as payment rails for digital payments. Basically trying to make the renminbi digital and trying to work out how to, build that out, how to make it secure, how to make it scalable, how to make sure it can be, tracked, how it can, all of the things that would come with implementing a brand new payment system. Because our money currently, as you know, but maybe other people don't, is not digital, right? What we have right now is on the front end is digital, on the back end it's ancient, right? So he argues that the world will move to a digital currency. It's just what, right? So right now, China are 10 years ahead of us in terms of research, and he argues that, okay, the China model of central bank digital currencies, so like the digital money, is a surveillance coin, basically. But that is not how it has to be. That is not the inherent quality in the, like, we as creators of it can specify how it gets built, right? So it's up to us to make sure the governments don't turn it into a surveillance coin. The other two options he suggests are possible are that the West, instead of trying to work out how to make their own digital money work, is to just use stable coins as a base layer. So, something like USDT or a euro version of that or a pound version of that, and basically just use the private sector already created ones. Or door number three, Bitcoin becomes the base layer upon which many things would have to be built. But he basically argued that all of the privacy concerns that we have are in many ways impractical for a central bank to try and implement. Whereas whilst China might be trying to do it, central banks do not want to deal with in the UK, the Bank of England would have to have 67 million counterparties to transactions. So every person in the country, right? Or, maybe 40 million if you take out the kids, right? In America, it's like 250 million counterparties. And the central bank currently has a couple of hundred tops. They don't want to have to deal with that. What the most likely thing that he thinks is that there will be a very rudimentary base layer built where the central banks will deal individually with each private bank, and then they will build everything on top of it. So like the future of like money is not this horrendous, we're definitely going to be surveilled and it's going to turn into social credit score. It's up to us to make sure that doesn't happen as citizens of the country who will implement it. Like, it's not out of our hands at this point. So I find that to be quite a positive view on it. And I mean, he's right, because, they govern at the, with the consent of the governed. If the people decided tomorrow that, like, 30% of the country was like, this is such a huge problem, we're going on strike, don't fuck with our money, the country would come to a halt. Like, so I think it's up to us to do it properly.
Well, I mean, I'd probably agree with a lot of that, and that it's all about the citizen, as you say. Like, so if the citizens are living up as their duty as a citizen, and that requires you to kind of realize your power as an individual and stuff. But so many people are asleep, and the people at the top of the pyramid, it's in their interest to keep you asleep because there's less checks on them to kind of look after themselves, and that's when you're talking about the matrix, and but even just kind of. Like, people don't even think that big terms, big picture thinking, if you just, think about, why you do what you do every day. Like, are you just doing it because you've done it in the past, or are you automatic thinking and things like that. There's so much to it.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean the Chinese, what they have over there, social credit scoring people, that's terrifying. Um, that is absolutely like that's the antithesis to what Bitcoin are about. And I personally, I'm always going to be a Bitcoiner. Like whatever, I wouldn't trust the likes of or what's her name? What's the one who runs the EU now?
Christine Lagarde.
Or she's the ECB lady, but the one who's always giving out about the Ukraine war.
Oh,
What's her name?
oh,
Some further.
the one whose text with fucking Albert Bourla, the Pfizer CEO, never got released. Her, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, I
The
mean,
head of the European Commission.
yes, Ursula von
Von der Leyen. Yeah, Ursula von der
von
Leyen.
der Leyen. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I told you before. I was a history grad to begin with. I did history at Glasgow. Um, and I did one of the modules we did was the Russian Revolution, USSR history, and so that was at a time when I was being fairly left wing. I was thinking, oh, communism just wasn't done properly, it was by this mad Lenin and well, at the time I sort of admired Lenin in some ways, but and then Stalin came along and fucked it up, right?
I mean,
But
I respect his refusal to die. Did he
yeah,
have like 6 strokes or something?
well, I'll give him credit on that. All right, not maybe being a decent human being, definitely not, but I'll give him credit on that score. But well, what comes to mind about that kind of the history of that, you realize like there's a joke that was going around the USSR, and it was like we pretend to work and they pretend to pay, and you kind of realize that that could be said about the West now, like money doesn't go far. And Niall Ferguson is a historian, and he's very pro-Western. The West is the best thing ever. Like, and don't get me wrong, there's obviously some great things that come out from, the West and intellectual thought and all that kind of stuff. He kind of would make it sound like, oh, the third world was just awful, but they should be glad for us to be Lord North and the way he thought. But he did have a good point, I think, tail end of last year, where he pointed out the similarities between the end of the USSR and the quotas and production values being made and with what we have now. And you basically kind of have Politburos kind of running the West now. I mean, that's not coming out now about Biden. He had cancer all this time. Like, who was running the free world all this time? And they kind of pick and choose. And there was a whole thing back in 2020. I despised Trump, and I was like, "Jesus, we can't have that man there." But I was just parroting what the media had been programming us for years. Like, and I'm not a fan of Trump. I made when I was at the Bitcoin conference, I made a point of not getting the vote Trump one, just because I still have any problems with Trump. But like, if I'm gonna have problems with Trump, it's gonna be from what I see it here from and decide for myself, not Trump derangement syndrome. And for me, the number one thing with Trump is how he's basically stood by while Israel's doing what it's doing. But that's I tweet about that about retweet stopping what's going on in Gaza and stuff. By the way, coming back to you know Trump and things like it's just this idea like it's not so much like left and right and stuff. It's when you have put people in power, there's very little checks on them. They put their fingers under the scales, and people don't wake up to what's going on and assert their boundaries and stuff. And Bitcoin's the ultimate way to kind of just do that almost automatically if you're buying Bitcoin and hodling it and such. Like it's just the best way to kind of realize your economic potential, and then from there you can kind of realize figure out what the hell you're doing on this planet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like some of the things that Trump has done, but I still feel like he is somewhat abusing the position of president to his own,
Oh,
benefit. And
it's
I,
got to be human nature.
yeah, and I mean the Democrats they tried to impeach him, and they could have got him. They could have got him on, I think it's the emoluments clause, right? And that's about using the presidential office for your own profiteering. And they chose not to even pursue that as an option, right? Despite talking about, oh, he's taking bribes, he's using this to make loads of money, he's doing this, they're building this hotel for him, you know, they actively chose not to go after him on that basis. And I believe it's because that would have set the precedent for other people to be impeached for abusing their positions of office for their own profiteering. And that would have raised many questions about insider trading, and they don't want those things examined. So instead, they go after him on the fucking Russia goose chase, where they had, and I was all in. I was sold. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, they've got the the best prosecutor you could possibly find. Like, what's his name? Robert Mueller. They had millions. They had years. They had all the resources. They had the guy who took down Enron. Like, and like the chief architect of unloading that like absolute clusterfuck. And he found nothing. Like, not a thing that they could use to impeach him. And for me, that just screams, we were so desperate not to reveal our own profiteering that we will raise this whole other thing just to like try and get him out of office because we don't like him. So yeah, it's a big game, and we're not in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it comes back to that at the end of the day, and you kind of make your own club, so to speak, and go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that Ukraine business, like it's all NATO bullshit. Like I mean, after the Cold War, they're like, oh, what do we do now? Well, we have to keep something going. Like it's just, I always like coming back to this phrase, too far east is always west. Like you go, and you could even go into the kind of woke stuff now. We had all the kind of just or someone I made to watch the podcast, but no, like we always joke about Elon Musk going on about a woke mind virus, and it's funny, the woke mind virus taking over the place. But for a long time, like it was, at some point, critical thinking was just gone, and we're there, like so you kind of disavow what basic biology and stuff tells you. You want to respect people's choices and kind of let people be, but but someone trying to get you to deny your own reality, it's just like what the fuck. So, that's kind of where, it all comes back to kind of just letting people be at the end of the day. And hopefully, we'll come back to GameStop and stuff like what Michael Saylor or Ryan Cohen have done. And basically, Michael Saylor always talks about like, the cost of capital and overcoming the hurdle rate of inflation and stuff. And because it's, and going back to kind of the idea of we pretend to work and they pretend to pay. These companies, they're all the cash, cash flow. There's no cash flow there, or what's the new ventures and stuff like money that they make just melts away. And Bitcoin is the only way to keep that energy. And now it's making everything kind of like a cliff rising while everything else is melting away at the bottom.
Mm.
The fiat currencies and everything based on that. And the only thing, when the tide goes away and you realize the only real thing has been the energy of things like Bitcoin. So it's there are a lot of microsailors and analogies and stuff are amazing, but you know, Ryan Cohen's tweets, you have a lot of that in the book. Um, it's always talk about hard work, real work, and Bitcoin comes from an idea of Austrian economics. Like the guys that made for Bitcoin, so when seeing him finally come out with the picture of Michael Saylor and following Bitcoin magazine, like it was just because it wasn't that long after the shareholder proposal. Like I think I told you in a voice note like how it finally went down with the chat with him. Basically, Mark Robinson, the contact, he kind of in the email chain, he kind of said, "Oh, look, maybe we could have a chat about it." And I got fair enough. I was actually in an appointment. And I had lost track of time and I realized, shit, man, I was going to get some fast food for my parents, like a kebab down the road in Ballymena. And I'm like, shit, man, I got to miss this call with this guy. So I'm sitting pulled over in this. I don't know when was the last time you were in Ballymena, mate. But I think it was Church Street I was on, pulled over in the rain on a Zoom call with this guy, and it was back and forth because we couldn't seem to get the right deal going. And I'm there, like, I'm talking to this guy who's trying to bring about the MOAS, or like help bring about the MOAS, and I'm there in the queue, or like could be in the queue for kebab in this rainy day in Ballymena. It's just a surreal moment. And the guy was like real respectful and sound, and he was like, there's a lot of cash in the balance sheet. It's obviously a big asset. And then I just kind of made a pitch about, you've seen the shareholder proposal, why we like Bitcoin. And he was like, thanks for being such a long-term shareholder of Bitcoin. He kind of said we spent a lot of time and money deal with this so far. And I was there like immediately kind of like, oh, I've never want GameStop to cost money and stuff. But then like I quickly remembered, like, fuck it, like I'm a shareholder. I want them to do the best thing. And then and he said, look, it would be easier for us if you withdrew this, but what I can give you is a verbal commitment that we will, when the next meeting around investments comes up from the board in March, I will personally raise this with the board. And I could just tell on the phone, like reading between the lines when he's thinking about cash in the balance sheet and just that stuff was happening. I just got a good sense of the guy. And then like, so I think I just forwarded you on before our call here, the immediate email I sent after that, just saying thanks very much for the call. And I thought he was very gracious and respectful, and he was kind of winking, over the phone, so to speak. And I took it to mean, yeah, they're on to Bitcoin. Like, it's in their plans. They're just worried that this kind of thing is going to blow open. So a few weeks later, or I don't think it was that long, it was like 3 weeks later maybe, and he does the part with Michael Saylor. But there's still part of you just wondering, is it all a feint? If we got to go buy it instead. So it's kind of like doubting Thomas or something. Kind of try and use your doubt to kind of bring you close you back to the faith in Cohen and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it
because
was
he's
it
been
was
photographed with other people. Carl Icahn, what's his name? Bill Pulte, or Pult, or what?
I think he's good for it, man. He puts his money where his mouth is. Like, I think this is all he's dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Like, I just don't think you would put in all this work, not share it, sell it. He hasn't sold a single share, and everyone goes, "Oh no, he's diluted this." Oh no, he's increased his own personal stake every time.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a massive.
I wanted to pull this up earlier actually because there was someone who I've got this quote in the book that someone tweeted and um about yeah, earlier this year. Ryan Cohen, CEO of GameStop, owns 36,847,842 GameStop shares purchased for approximately $96 million. That's a cost basis of $2.61 per share, and has never sold a share per day, despite hitting an intraday price of $64 on the 14th of May 2024, where his shares were valued at $2.83 billion.
Jesus.
Didn't sell. That's like a 20, no, sorry, a 30x return, not sold one.
All the steel.
What does
Like,
that tell you?
yeah, that's just. I mean, you go on about like balls of steel and the biggest ball going along Roaring Kitty and stuff, but he's just like a leader, just a top dude, top G, to borrow from Andrew Tate. Not Andrew Tate, I'm just, but let's just call him a top G. Um, no, man, like the conviction and things like that. And honestly, when you see people like that, it's been great just that I've been doing a lot of kind of self-reflection, growing myself like the last few years, what's been going on in my life. And it's just great to see people like that, like as kind of models as well. So just on even on that score, and the guy's going to make me mega rich along the way.
Here's hoping.
No, I mean, I'm dangerous sounding crazy to anyone outside the space. Like I'm thoroughly convinced we're all going to Valhalla.
I mean, my best friend is my best friend is also convinced. Yeah, yeah, powered by the Bitcoin, definitely. My best friend's also convinced. I am less convinced of like MOAS than I used to be, because I just feel like the system will shut it off. That's maybe the cynic in me. However, I do believe that very large numbers on the share price are possible. Like into the hundreds, maybe into the thousands, possibly. In like a mid to long term, I think I've spoken to a couple of people who think a slow melt up is far more likely than a like 2 days from like 50 all the way to like 10,000 or phone number stupidity stuff. Which I mean, I love to believe, but like when I get my realism hat on, but then this entire saga has been a demonstration of reality, and realism is just not how things play out. So who the fuck knows? I'm not selling until we get life changing money. So I'm.
I like changing one. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, there's something in it as well. Like obviously, like DFB has been doing that. He's been following the cycles. He's been knowing where to press the buttons, where to place the puts on the uh, all the trades. The big thing about the recent puts being him. Um, the really large puts are like really high
Yeah, oh
in the money.
yeah, I saw.
I suspect that is him. I'm not going to pretend like I know the financial tools and everything like in and out, but I, I hear it from smart people that it's that and Cohen has been doing the work as a CEO to overhaul the business, and he's been quite not they know what to do on the other score, but like they're powered by means themselves. You have to have like faith in something more. You can't just be doing the same discipline and stuff will get you so far, but you kind of have to have faith in what it's all about. And I do believe like that these guys are, the perfect marriage. Is that right? They're putting in the work, but they're also realizing like, that the whole thing, even BFD coming back, the guy could have been off in the Caribbean now and said sod off to everybody. But he's back and he's just back with the love of the memes, if nothing else, by the sounds of it. You can't not love that. And yeah, I can't wait for all play out. But I think I agree with you on one level in terms of the slow melt up theory. Like it's so hard to see they could never let that happen again. But like Bitcoin is, how could you not? If Bitcoin does go to like millions of dollars or like keep going up, all these companies are exposed to Bitcoin with their treasury stuff. Like they're gonna have to come along with it. You can't keep a lid on that. Like it's too real. And then the other side of it is we still don't know what Roaring Kitty's wild card is, right? I don't think he came back for a slow meltdown.
Maybe not. I mean, yeah, there's many questions still to be answered. I mean, the how much GameStop responds to this Bitcoin bull run depends on the legs on it. Like, is this the super cycle? Is this the game theory, or is this just is this the top again for a while? And then you have to question, when did Ryan Cohen buy? How much did they buy? There's many questions still to be answered. But yeah, John, I've taken up a lot of your time. So I think that's a very nice place to leave things. Really, really appreciate it. I'll put your Twitter in the link below if anyone's interested, as well as, yeah, some of the stuff that I've looked up there today that I have still open. So yeah, man, is there anything else you want to plug?
No, no, just Irish Bitcoin man, John DT Waldron on Twitter. That's grand. The more to come in this space, of course. And I'm out here riding the rocket powered by the Bitcoin reactor with everybody else. So it's going to be a wild ride. And thanks so much for having me, Joe.
Yeah, no problem. Been a pleasure. Thanks, man. Hey, listeners, real quick. Do you ever find yourself sitting watching the stock market like this? Well, now you could instead be ordering my book like this. It's the story of GameStop. You can purchase it with a hoodie, with acknowledgements, or just with the early backers edition. It's all about the GameStop story. It's the real story, not just what you've seen on films. It's exactly what has happened over the last 3.5 years. And with DFE back, I'm finally able to draw a conclusion to my book. Please pre-order it. It really helps me out, and you will get it eventually, I promise. Hopefully this year.